What's up guys and welcome back to my channel. So today I have some witchy games that I would like to share with you guys. These are games that I have played and I guess I'm going to mention if I recommend them and why. And I also have some honorable mentions that will be towards the end of the video. So if you like witchy games, if you're on the lookout for more witchy games to check out, well then watch this whole video. First on the list we have Blacktail. This is a game based on Baba Yaga where you yourself are playing as Yaga as a young girl. She's been accused of witchcraft and pretty much bullied since she was a child just because she was found in the forest. But your sister Zora always had your back, defending you, protecting you, but unfortunately she recently has gone missing, and you're on the hunt to try to find her. While at the same time, during this process, you're hearing voices. It's kind of like an angel or devil sort of voice. It's a choices matter type of game as well. There's going to be a lot of different characters that you're going to meet in the game, and depending on what you pick with who you talk to would result in the direction that your game is going to go. You can either choose to be the Baba Yaga that defends and protects the forest, or you can choose to be the Baba Yaga that children end up fearing. This game might not be for everybody because there is fighting involved. There's combat, you have a crossbow, you have to defend yourself, you have to maneuver in certain ways to make sure you don't die. If you guys find that stressful, then I don't recommend this game for you, but if you like story-rich games, don't mind a little bit of combat, then this is definitely a witchy game you should check out. Oh, I forgot to mention, these aren't in any particular order of favoritism, just so you guys know. On number 2 on the list, we have Little Goody TwoShoes, where you play as this young girl who has a dream of better things. She wants a mansion, she wants a lot of money, but that's not her life at this time. Ironically, just like Baba Yaga, she was also found in the woods by somebody who ended up raising her. Now, this game is a peculiar one. It's cozy in the sense of the art style, the settings that you're in, but every now and then things switch up and get a little creepy. I don't recommend this game if you're sensitive to anything involving demons, anything demonic. If you don't care about those things, then I would recommend that you check this game out because it's one of those games that I feel like is going to stick with you because of how weird but in a good way it is. There's also dating involved in this game, which I thought was kind of funny considering the setting and the story that we're going through. This is also a choices matter kind of game. Why? Because you're trying to make sure people don't think that you're a witch. You probably don't even think you're a witch yourself. But there's some people that have an inkling to suspect you. And so your job throughout the story is to make sure that they don't suspect you. Otherwise, something bad might happen. Speaking of something bad might happen, this game also has multiple endings. Usually the choices matter kind of games do, so just be aware of that. I don't recommend the game if you're not into choices matter type of thing, if you don't like when games have multiple endings, if you just prefer like a linear story and that's it, then this game is probably not for you. If you don't care about any of that, then I suggest checking this witchy game out. At number 3, we have Reka. This game is currently still in early access. It's also another witchy game that involves Baba Yaga because you end up being an apprentice to Baba Yaga in the game. There's building involved in the game. You can build up your own cozy chicken cottage or hut. You can wander around in the forest to forage for ingredients. The vibes of this game are very autumn-like. I feel like it's the first game that I've played where the season just it feels like you're in that season. Does that make any sense? Like I can feel the crispiness of fall in the game. So it's safe to say the graphics, at least for me, are very appealing. It's a beautiful game, especially if your system can handle it. Now, I don't think this game is a choices matter kind of game, but I feel like based on your responses to people's quests, it might change where maybe you don't get an item. Like there was one in the beginning of the game where this guy was being attacked by crows. I chose not to help him because he fucked Baba Yaga over, so I was like, screw you too. He was gonna pay her, but he ended up gambling his money away instead. And when I heard that, I was like, nah, homie, you can deal with these crows. You knew what you had to do and you chose not to anyways. So I I let them to their fate. Did that change anything in the story? I'm not sure. Again, it is early access, so I don't know if your decisions truly matter in this game or if it's just that you might be out of a cosmetic. I feel like Reka is the witchy game for you if you love exploring, fall vibes, if you love building your house from the ground up. In most games, you already have a house and you just decorate the inside. But in this game, you're literally building your house and decorating it. So if you love both of those things together, then I definitely recommend checking Reka out. The game isn't going to be for you if you're a little iffy about early access games, which I totally understand. If you don't like a lot of reading in games, there's no real voice acting in this game. It's just like grunts or noises. There's also not really any hand holding in the game. The UI is very, very minimal. You just get like your compass on the top and that's it. So if you prefer more handheld games, as in like them holding your hand and walking you through it, not handheld gaming devices, then this is probably not going to be the game for you. Number 4 on the list, we have the Witch's House MV. I don't know what the MV stands for, just so you guys know. In this game, you play as a young girl named Viola, who gets mysteriously drawn to a random manor in the woods. Even though her dad told her, don't go into the woods, come straight home, she still chose to go in that manner. Now, I feel like this game is aesthetically cozy. It's pixel art, which I feel like for the most part, anything pixel art is just cozy by default. But although this one might look cozy, there's some weird shit that goes on in that manor. In the witch's house, there's a lot of riddles that you have to solve. Your choices matter in the fact of you have to be careful what you touch or what you say because it might end up killing you. The main point in the game is for Viola to get out of the witch's house alive. If you're a fan of dark and cozy games or horror and cozy games, yes, both of them can work together. If you don't mind solving some riddles, then I feel like the Witch's House MV is definitely going to be a game for you. One thing I would recommend if you are going to try this game out is when you're picking the difficulty, I think you start off with easy and normal, and once you beat the game, you can do hard. Normal mode just has minimal save spots, but when you die, it goes all the way back to where you last saved. In easy mode, when you die, it just starts you over from figuring out the riddle again in the same spot. I don't recommend this game for people who don't like horror in general. Even if it's like a pixel art game, there are some times where you're going to jump or something's going to come up on the screen. If you don't like that feeling, then I don't recommend you checking this witchy game out. Also, if you don't like riddles or figuring out puzzles, then this is probably not the game for you. At number 5, we have Wylde Flowers, where you play as Tara, who doesn't know that she's a witch, and she didn't know her grandma was a witch, but she ends up finding out. So you play as Tara, who ends up leaving the city because she lost her job, I guess is in the process of getting divorced, or she got broken up with. And she's pretty much just down in her luck. So she's like, you know what? I need to change. Let me go visit my grandma. I haven't seen her in a while. Let me go chill on her farm. In a way, you inherit the farm. I'm not going to say how, but you end up inheriting the farm. And little by little, you start discovering some secrets that lead towards witchcraft. One thing I love about this game, for the most part that I can tell, it's 100% voice acted. I hate having to read everything in the game, mainly because I read in my head and it's a little awkward when I'm recording because I'm reading in my head, not out loud, and you're just seeing me stare at the screen. But this game is totally voice acted, which is very nice. Be aware though, this did start off as a mobile game first, so it might feel that way if you're playing it on the PC or any other system. But even though it did start off as a mobile game, it doesn't feel weird when I play it on my Steam Deck or on the PC. In Wylde Flowers, like I said, you do inherit a farm, so there is farming involved. You raise livestock, there is dating. I believe the game also had its final patch as far as the story goes, so like the story is completely done. I'm only about 10 hours into the game, and for the most part right now the map is kind of small, but as I keep playing and go further into the story, I know I'm going to end up unlocking other not dimensions, I guess other regions, and also discovering different characters, maybe mythological looking characters that technically shouldn't exist, which makes me want to play the game even more. So if you're a fan of fully voice acted games, farming sims, integrated with some witchcraft here and there, and you don't mind that this game was ported over from being a mobile game, then you're likely gonna like Wylde Flowers. If you're not a fan of mobile games, then you're probably not gonna like this one because I feel like that's gonna be in your head and it's just gonna feel a little weird as you play it. If you're just not a fan of farming sims, if you don't like witchy games in general, then I don't know why you're watching this video. You're probably not gonna like Wylde Flowers. Number 6 on the list, we have the Witch of Fern Island. Now hear me out, because a lot of people pretty much shat on this game when it was in early access, and the reviews on Steam are mixed. I always say play something yourself, watch a movie yourself, have your own opinion of the game. Don't go off of other people's reviews, other people's thoughts, because that's not you, right? Play the game, see if you like it. Watch the movie, see if you like it. That's not to say I wasn't hesitant when I tried The Witch of Fern Island, but I ended up really liking this game. One of the main reasons is because the place is massive. Like, the map is huge, and it's a bit tedious when you don't have your broom to get around walking everywhere. In The Witch of Fern Island, you play as Abril, or Abril, who crash landed on this island because she thought it was a smart idea to fly in her broom during a big ass thunderstorm. And she ends up being stuck on the island whilst having to finish her studies for the Magic Academy and becoming a well-trained witch. As I said earlier, this map is huge, so there's a lot of exploring to do, there's a lot of secrets to find, there's treasure chests everywhere, you can play as a frickin' cat. This game also has farming. I think there's also dating involved. I haven't gotten to the point of dating anyone because I don't really care to. But all that said, if you love games that are just massive to explore, like they have a huge map, then I feel like you're gonna like The Witch of Fern Island. If you're into farming sims, discovering secrets, putting together mysteries, flying on a broom, then you're probably gonna like The Witch of Fern Island as well. One thing I do want to warn you guys though about this game is that unfortunately there is a huge glitch within a storyline quest, which is a big bummer because you can't finish the story unless they patch this up. And last I checked, it's been going on 4 months that people have brought this up to the devs and they still haven't patched it. The quest that I'm talking about is where when you morph into your cat, go into that specific cave that's meant for the story, you either fall through the map or you just see like a black screen. You hear stuff, like you hear the game, but you just see a black screen and you can't really do anything. You have to exit and restart the game just to get yourself out of that situation. You can do side quests and all that and still explore the massive world that this game has to offer, but you can't finish the story until they fix it. Other than that, though, I recommend checking out The Witch of Fern Island. On number 7, we have Garden Witch Life. Yes, I know. I feel like this game has been not controversial, but mixed thoughts. In Garden Witch Life, you're supposed to play a witch, and she's a bit not disappointed. Well, yeah, I guess she's a bit disappointed at herself to go back home and tell her parents that she got fired. So she ends up not going home. Instead, she stops off at a place called Moonflower Island, where she inherits, well, kind of inherits, a tree house looking house. So you have a plot of land where you can also do farming, although I will say the farming is a little awkward because there's no grid, and I know a few of us don't like that. At the moment, I'm 13 hours into the game, and I don't think there's any like livestock that we take care of. I think it's just like farming and cooking and maybe making potions. Actually, I don't even know about the potions because I'm not that far into it. I know there's cooking involved. One thing that a lot of us are disappointed in though is there's no witchy aspects in the game, or at least it's taking a little too long to get there. This game is likely going to be one that's going to require you to be very, very, very patient because it's very, very, very slow as far as progression goes. As of recording this, I don't know if they made any patches to fix a few of the issues that me and fellow YouTubers have discussed in our first impressions review of the game. This game is not in early access. It's a full release game, which I think is the main reason why a lot of people gave mixed reviews because of expecting more out of the game, and it's just not there. So be forewarned. I'm not saying the game is totally bad. It has some little stuff that I like enough to at least have played 13 hours so far. But unless you're very, very patient and taking it pretty much one day at a time, you're not going to like the game. When it comes to story progression, if you don't mind just going off on your own and exploring, skipping days to make the season go by faster, not really having tutorials to explain things, then you're probably going to like the game. If you'd prefer to have a more fast-paced game, better tutorials explained out for you, a balance in the time frames of the game, like how fast it can progress as far as the story goes, or how fast you can make money in the game. If you're not patient and you prefer to just skip a whole bunch of days just to get through certain things, then you're probably not going to like this game. I feel like this is the only game on the list where I'm kind of hesitant on whether or not I recommend it. But I mean, like I said earlier, to each their own. Some people might still love this game and other people just don't. They just stop playing altogether. But with Garden Witch Life, I feel like it's a game where you have to be extremely patient to get to the point where it gets interesting. I know it shouldn't be that way. Like, you shouldn't have to play 10 to 15 hours in a game before it starts getting good. Because usually, for the most part, first impressions is everything. And usually, first impressions from a game is like within the first 1 to 2 hours that you start playing it. So the fact that you have to play 10 plus hours for the game to start getting good might be a turnoff to a lot of people, which is why I mentioned this game requires a lot of patience. If that's not your thing, then I don't recommend checking out Garden Witch Life. Just take it with a grain of salt, is what I'm going to say. Number 8 on the list is Mika and the Witch's Mountain. So a lot of people have described this game, or at least the art style, to the studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, however you guys say it, their art style, and that's one reason why they fell in love with the game. It's definitely a cozy game where you're a witch in training as well, but you're also a courier. You're delivering packages for the most part. So when you first start the game, you meet like this Grand Master Witch that you're supposed to get training from, but she ends up yeeting you off the mountain, saying that you pretty much have to prove yourself to be a witch that she can train. When you fall to the ground, you end up breaking your broom, and then you start your journey with talking to the townsfolk and pretty much getting a job as a courier. It sounds like I'm saying career? Mail person, alright? You're delivering packages. So you get a job delivering packages, and throughout this, you're able to level up your broom, which I feel for the most part, if your broom is at a high enough level, you'll be able to reach the top of the mountain to talk to the witch again. This game is in early access as I'm filming this, so I don't think the story is fully done yet, but that's just what I'm assuming is going to happen. Like, as you level up your packaging, delivery skills, flying skills on the broom, you're going to have a good enough broom to get to the top of the mountain, or to fly to the top of the mountain to see the witch again. The game feels very fetch questy because you're literally fetching packages and delivering packages. So you can deliver and talk to the same two people for the same quest, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, going back and forth. If you don't like that, then you're probably not going to like this game. And then the 9th and final game on the list is Little Witch in the Woods. This game is also currently still in early access, and you play as a little witch called Ellie, who is on her way to the academy via train. But there was something in the way of the train tracks, and she saw this opportunity to get off of the train to explore, because she gets bored easily from what I could tell. As she was exploring, she ends up finding a little cottage that appears to have been owned by a previous witch. She takes a little nap there and of course forgets about the time and ends up missing her train. Although she doesn't really care that much that she missed her train. She's more like, you know what, it's fine. I'm just gonna explore this area and make my way to the academy when I can. Or maybe I just won't and I'll just stay here. So as you're exploring your little witch cottage, you end up discovering a weird elevator that leads down to pretty much the main room that you're gonna be working out of, making potions, charms, concocting spells, all of that jazz. In order for you to work on any of those things, you would have to explore out into the world and forage a lot of items. One mechanic that I found pretty interesting in the game is that you have not a diary, but I guess a grimoire that you would keep track of everything that you're foraging, or like little critters that you would see. You would literally draw them in your book, and the more you study that foraged item or critter, the more information or points you get towards the page that you created. Does that make any sense? But I thought that was really cool. Since this game is in early access, I don't know how far along they are into finishing it. Since it did come out in 2022, we're already going into 2025 and it's still listed as early access on Steam. So I'm hoping they're going to finish the game pretty soon. If you're not a fan of early access games, then I don't suggest trying this Witchy game out. If you don't care about the game being early access, then definitely check it out. The game is hilarious. The conversations that you have with the NPCs are pretty funny. You can parkour, climbing on the walls and things like that, which I thought was really random. I believe it's going to have your typical farming sim aspects to it, so I think at one point there's going to be legit farming involved, like growing crops, not just foraging to create your potions. I don't recommend the game if you, again, don't like a lot of reading in games. This one is not voice acted. They have like little noises that they make, but it's definitely not a voice acted game. So if you don't like a lot of reading, if you don't like a game being early access, those are the only main reasons why I wouldn't recommend the game. But if you don't care about those things, then definitely check out Little Witch in the Woods. So those were the 9 witchy games that I have played and why I don't recommend you to check them out. So now I'm going to talk about some honorable mentions, games that don't technically fall in the witchy category, but have some aspects to it. The first one is Potion Permit, where you play as an alchemist, and you guessed it, you create potions and concoctions to heal the people in the town. The thing is, though, the people don't really like you because, unfortunately, alchemists in the past kind of messed up their town by killing off what they said was a very important part of their ecosystem. Now, the reason why this game is an honorable mention is because, again, you're not a witch, you're an alchemist, but there are some aspects in this game that are part of witchy stuff, like potions. And some can argue that technically alchemy can be seen as witchcraft because of what you're creating. Some can also argue that science can be seen as witchcraft. So that's why I put Potion Permit as an honorable mention, because it's not a witchy game, but it has some aspects of what witches do, I guess. The last honorable mention game that I wanted to talk to you about is Moonstone Island. Now, I feel like a lot of people put this in their witchy game category simply because the character flies on a broom the first part of the game, but other than that, there's nothing witchy about the game. It's mainly based on creature collecting. It's also a life farming sim, so there is farming involved. You do fishing. There's combat in the game in the form of a card system, which I thought was really neat. But like I said, nothing else about the game says witch, other than the fact that you're on a broom for like the first 5 minutes of the game. So that's why Moonstone Island is one of my honorable mentions, because there is some witchy aspect to it. So some people can argue that the character in the game is a witch. I don't know. Again, honorable mention. Check out Moonstone Island if you like creature collecting and deck-based combat. Well, that is it for the video, guys. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of all of these games, which ones you have played, which ones did you like or not like, and why. And if you stuck to this part of the video, leave the broom emoji in the comments. That way I know, and I'd very much appreciate it because that lets me know you watched the whole video. Don't forget to like the videos, it helps me out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!